The Telegraph, The Sun have led with this horrific story of Arthur Labinjo-Hughes, who was tortured and eventually murdered by his stepmother, Emma Tustin. Steve, this is way, way worse than cancellation and doxing. This is uber horrible.
I think this might be the worst thing that is in our brains, the idea of someone that you should trust, the parental role, to be abused so. I think that is probably the highest level of disgust that we can feel. And that's what so many people will be thinking when they see the front pages, with social workers having questions to answer about why wasn't this stopped. But if you read the details, you will just feel nothing other than the disgust at what was happened. Mental torture, physical torture, the worst kinds of abuse. Which on a show where we deal with the news in a comedic way, there is none of those emotions.
No, I'm afraid this is a segment that is comedy-free. But some of the goings on, it was the mum moved in with the dad moved in with the stepmum during the lockdown, and that was a lot of people that happened to. We knew lockdown was coming. A lot of people suddenly moved in with each other, and then he wasn't at school. So because the schools were all shut, so none of the monitoring that happened in the schools could take place. And then because of the lockdown, I guess the social workers and so on weren't visiting. But he was sending messages to his uncles and, saying, I'm hungry, please come and help me. I need food and water. I mean, it just beggars belief. And the grandparents were concerned about him. The uncles were concerned about him. He was visited 3 weeks before he died. And the social workers said there was no problem. How is that possible?
It feels like there's no way it could be possible. So when the newspapers are asking questions, surely the answers have got to be blame. I know it feels harsh to rush straight to blame when maybe we should be thinking about the emotional side of this. But someone must have made an error.
Poor kid.
And it's very easy to blame lockdown for this as well, but not to sound glib, so many people went through lockdown, no one else did this.
No, but incidentally, one of the things that there was a lot more domestic violence, increase in domestic violence during the lockdown.
And these problems need to be fixed at their core rather than realising a situation that makes them worse isn't the main fault. The main fault is
it was
the horror it's caused.
Yeah, and the person, the mum. But, there were all sorts of dominoes that were in line that enabled this to happen, that I listed out. But
they're all mistakes, and they're the answer to this question. Why wasn't more done?
And the Sun asked, why, did they not learn from Baby P? It doesn't appear that they did, because I guess it was a different council, so they thought, well, that's Hackney or whichever council it was. It's not the problem of us in the West Midlands.
But I'd be surprised if that was a response. Surely if you
No, that was... I'm just sort of justifying the thinking of somebody in an office in West Midlands Council, whatever the name of the council is.
If you work in that section of employment and you know of the Baby P story, surely it hits home even more. You would imagine if there's one bunch of people who should learn lessons from reading that story back when that was a story, it would be the people who should have learned it.